candles that you have to blow out.
What does he say?
No
Because
matter
it's how many birthday candles you have left.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Oh, yeah. It is always birthday candles.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a little 3, 2, 1 clap just so you guys
Okay.
Okay.
and you guys can go.
Okay.
Hey, babe.
Hi, babe.
I guess we'll get started with our intro and what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So, I'm Jamie Pappas, stand-up comedian here in Philly.
I'm Kirsten Michelle Cills. I'm also a stand-up comedian here in Philly.
And we met doing shows,
Mm-hmm.
and we have something pretty unique about us that bonded us.
Mm-hmm. What is it, James?
Well, I was going to just go with our little catchphrase and then move it forward, right?
Sure.
We're going to probably call this pod We're Dying Up Here.
Mm-hmm.
And we are dying up here, and you guys got to stop being weird about it. So basically, our first time meeting, you and I were on a show together, and the only women on the show.
No.
I thought you were correcting me earlier. Like, we were.
Wait, on a comedy show, we were the only two women.
Yeah. You and I.
Okay.
And the only thing I believe to be differentiating us was that you had tubes in your face.
That was probably the only thing that would keep us from people confusing us, for sure.
So I took a big swing. I took a big swing in my intro with you because I had not met you before.
Yeah.
I had heard of you, and at the time, you had cameras following you for a documentary, which we didn't know about. So we just saw a woman come in with a camera crew following her and an oxygen backpack.
Yeah.
Which I'm a sicko.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. Immediate, like, so I figured you were either going to be cool with this or you weren't. And I went up to you in the green room. We had chatted a little prior already, just woman to woman. And then I saw you in the green room and asked you if I could just borrow the tubes for my set because I was after you.
Yeah.
And I figured, if she's all in, she's all in. If she doesn't like this, I really bombed hard backstage.
And I gave you a resounding hell fucking yeah. Yeah?
You did.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that's your take on how we met.
Yeah, now I'm scared to hear yours.
Interesting. Okay. No, I remember being on that show and having the cameras following me and being so insecure about it. And you were the only person who was nice about it. And everybody else would not speak to me because they were afraid to be on camera, or they would speak to me the entire night because they really wanted to be on camera.
I thought I was going to be on like a children's hospital commercial.
I know. It looked like the sick Kardashian, and they're following me around. And so the camera crews were following me, and you and I were bidding, which is always a good sign. And we were the only two women on the show, and it's not like one of us is like short and blonde and the other one is the way we look, but like we have a pretty similar.
We have brown hair. You
type.
can say it.
Yeah, I'll say it. We have fucking brown hair. So we're related. And I remember going on stage, the cystic fibrosis jokes going very well, and then you being like, I have to follow you having made a bunch of jokes about being terminally ill. Can I wear this as a bit? And I was like, of course you can. I just didn't have an extra tube, so it never ended up happening. But I do think in hindsight, had we done that, I think you would have gotten disqualified immediately.
Well, of course we both bonded over just being two women, and it was a long lineup. It was a showcase show, and having just the only two women on the lineup be back to back is already like makes you feel some type of way.
Yeah.
And then to have you go first, like to have to follow up someone talking about something being terminal and then have to go up with whatever my jokes are seems so irrelevant because then we got tube girl and then bitch girl and that's it.
Yeah. And do you remember the comic who went after us?
Yeah.
Immediately made jokes at our expense and was like, I do not remember who it is. And if I didn't, do you remember? We can bleep it out. Who was it?
Oh, I don't remember his name. Because I asked him to never talk to me again.
It wasn't.
No.
Someone we've never met who immediately went up after Jamie and I and was like, oh my God, like we have like, what did he call you? Like the Puerto Rican Kardashian.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
And
he
then
talked about my butt for 2 minutes of his set.
And then he was like, I never thought I'd see myself wanting to fuck a Make-A-Wish kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's gotta be me.
It just bonded us even stronger. So I think that's a good, we both, our stories are pretty close of just like, you appreciated that I took the big swing and I appreciated that you accepted the big swing.
Mm-hmm. And we've been swinging ever since, babe.
Swing away. Striking out. But, you know, we wanted to start a pod in which we're calling Dying Up Here because of what bonded us is you are quite literally dying.
I am.
And I think I'm so okay with death because I was born into grief. My mom didn't know she was pregnant yet and my dad died. So as a little kid, I was always tap dancing, doing whatever to make people laugh because they would look at me and think about death. So people look at you currently and think about death.
Yeah.
Growing up and people hear my story and they have that realization that death is real. People look, we both make death real for people.
Yeah. Because I guess in a way, well, I don't really know why this is, but it's kind of crazy to me that there are people who've never thought about death in their lives. But sometimes you and I mean, a couple nights ago when we were at the bar and we were just like doing bits about death, obviously we were like running the room, but everyone was so uncomfortable with it. But laughing really hard, which I guess is our sweet spot. But it was a lot of people who didn't really know it was okay to make fun of me in the way that you were, and you were obliterating me.
Well, I did talk about headlining your funeral.
You did talk about headlining my funeral.
Everyone was
Which you will.
shocked.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll lower my fee for it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But for me, I've always had a joke about death or talk about it because that's just what happened. So I always say it's something that, and similar to you, you were born with a disease. I was born into that situation. So when people look at you, your joke, you do a bit about I can't imagine. People always say, I'm like, well, you could imagine because I'm telling you it's happening to me right now.
Yeah, you're actually imagining right now, and that's why you're upset.
Yeah, so I do think people are so cautious. I've seen it. They're cautious around you. And I've never been that way, which, like, I could pull back a little bit if you... I actually was thinking this week, I forget what I said to you, but I was like, maybe she doesn't like that. But then I remember that your whole life is people just coddling you and telling you whatever you want to hear because they're like, this could be your last second. So, like right now, this thing I'm saying right now could be your last moment.
No, the reason I brought you a rose today and made you my Valentine is because my biggest kink is the way you talk to me.
I just have to accept it. I think what you're saying about people not thinking about death is I think people think about death, but they haven't accepted it.
And that's simply cannot be my problem.
No.
And it cannot be yours all the time.
And it always has been.
Yeah. And if you don't want to sit and think about death, I think that that's a very understandable thing.
Yeah.
But some of us are out here vibing with death and are actually not interested in, like, I'm so far in the process.
Yeah.
And you're just beginning. We're not on the same level.
Well, it's like people look at you and are like, wow, I gotta live life to the fullest.
So true.
She can't, but then they don't do anything. They just look at you and get uncomfortable. And same for me, like, especially now that, like, I'm in my 30s, people will look at me and realize that, like, my mom was about our age when she lost her husband. And, like, I think people don't think people die suddenly or they don't think people die young. Like, we so societally push death away.
Yeah.
That people look at us and are like, oh boy.
Oh.
Oh, is that real?
No, I mean, you're very correct because I look at a situation like yours and specifically your mom's, and I always feel like it's sadder than a situation like mine because I do have the luxury of having been born with this disease. So, like, I've never lived a single day as a healthy person. So it's not like I ever lived a life and, like, made plans and, like, thought I was going to be at a certain point and then found out one day that everything was going to change. And I think that's a lot sadder and harder to swallow. So when I hear stories like when you told me your story about your dad and also, you know, subsequently your mom and what that must have been like for her, I think that is so much scarier. So you win.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, good game. But...
I agree that my life is harder, but no. What I will say is, for my mom, you're right. That setup for my mom is hard.
Yeah.
I have the same thing as you, where I was just born into it. So when people feel bad or like talk about this, that, what I'm missing, I don't know what I'm lacking because I don't know differently. Similar to you saying like, This is what I know. This is what I've known.
Yeah.
I don't know different. So I don't know different. If anything, I just see people have terrible dads.
Okay, can I ask you, because we both grew up without a dad, so I'm curious. I mean, mine's alive, but I grew up with a lot of stepdads, not to brag.
Your mom's hot.
I'm a professional stepchild. Yeah. Both my parents are on their third marriage, but I have always been a big sitcom watcher.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like kind of my idea of like what dads were like. So I'm curious, what's the thing you take away when you think of like how a sitcom dad acts? For me, it's making pancakes. They always were.
Oh, mine is just the like coming home from work.
Oh my God.
Because it's like they just did nothing at an office and then they come home and do nothing here too.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
they have a briefcase
yeah, why?
every time.
What's in there?
There's nothing in there.
Oh, so we were a big Full House family.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about your question, I love sitcoms, but in the 90s, most of the sitcoms and things, there was a missing parent, or like they were trying to show like a newly functioning differently family. Not most, but there
Yeah.
was always something.
No, you're right, because I was really into Fresh Prince as well, and same thing where they're not his parents, right?
Yeah,
They're his aunt
no
and uncle.
dad, mom kicked him out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Full House, my sister and I had a running joke because anytime there was like a big moral like moment, they would start playing this violin song and say, "Ever since Pam died." So anytime people would, which is the mom in Full House, and they would get out, like Danny Tanner would get on one knee and like talk to the kids and be like, "Ever
Yeah.
since Pam died." So we always had that moment because people would tell us stories and be like, my dad's name was Jim, and they would be like, you know, when Jim was alive, and my sister and I would just like
Play the violin.
play it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think about that. I always think about with sitcoms because it was always like a fondness for what they were missing.
Yeah. And it was always like, so because DJ was old enough to remember her mom, and she
Right.
was the only one.
Yeah.
And she had so much resentment towards the kids for that.
Yeah.
And obviously, you have an
Yeah.
older sibling
Yeah. My older sister was 2.5.
who, like, at least had met your dad
has
before.
photos with him.
Yeah. Are you jealous of that?
There's definitely like a weirdness that he never knew I was existed. My mom didn't even know she was pregnant yet. So he didn't even know I was supposed to show up. They like yeah. So it's even more
My brain is just like pinging around with the amount of opportunity of bits that there are.
there's
right
so
there.
many. My parents had a conversation about having another kid, conceived, and then he died. And then my mom was told she wasn't pregnant, like, because she was just not feeling good, not sleeping, went to a doctor, got a blood test, told she's not pregnant. 6 weeks later was feeling terrible, post-funeral, post-everything, went back to the doctor. They retest everything, and they're like, "Oh, psych, you are pregnant." So the question about the jealousy was more like, I get bummed that I don't have photos or like that he knew that I was gonna be alive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he didn't get to like help pick out your name or.
well, my name's his name.
Wait, no way. How did I not know that?
His name is James. Mine's and then Jamie.
Oh,
It was gonna
okay.
be Amalia, which is my middle name.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So sometimes I have this like, oh, I wish he knew I was around.
Yeah.
But I also am like the placeholder for everyone, like the James replacement. Like the name Jamie means one who replaces. It's a planter.
Does anyone in your family believe in reincarnation and stuff?
My mom's a little woo
Like,
woo.
is this a theory in the family?
Not necessarily reincarnation. My mom was convinced for a long time. I had a goldfish that lived for like 9 years. She was like, "I swear it's your dad." I was like,
no,
"Well,
I love that she chose the goldfish.
I
to
know
be
the
your
thing
dad
that's
over
gonna
you.
die suddenly quickly." Like things that have like no memory and die quickly.
She chose the goldfish to be you over, or to be.
That was more, it
Your
was
dad.
less jealousy. I think I felt more pressure.
Yeah.
Because when you're named after someone and you're the last legacy,
Uh-huh.
and then you're nothing but funny.
It is so embarrassing to tell people what we
Yeah.
do when we could have amounted to anything.
Right. Because then people will ask me questions like that or like think about my dad. And I'm like, oh boy.
Like, and now
again?
what have you done with his name? And you're like, I'm just a fucking goof.
Yeah. Just out here selling titty pics.
Oh, are we open about this on here?
I mean, he's still dead.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, did you feel, because, I mean, not the same question, but growing up, like, was there a jealousy because you have a sibling?
Yeah, I do. I have a brother named Brad.
Was there, like, Why didn't Brad get CF?
Oh, big time. Brad is so fucking healthy.
Ugh.
And it drives me
Loser.
crazy because I do have cystic fibrosis, but I also have a lot of other conditions that have nothing to do with it, but that just do not take precedent over the cystic fibrosis. But like, I also have a heart condition that I had to have surgery on when I was a kid, and so many things where it's just crazy to me that none of it could have been. There could be any distribution of wealth, and instead it's just Brad is just the golden child when it comes to health. He's actually now an ER nurse, and I am like the patient always.
I mean, and not to play empathy for Brad, but like, you imagine all attention was on
Oh no, for sure.
keeping you alive because you were broken.
For sure. Brad and I are very close now, but there was so much animosity when I was a kid. My mom says, because when you're in the children's hospital, like I didn't live at home a ton. I always lived in the children's hospital, but my parents had to come visit me as much as they could. But like, we had a single mom.
Yeah.
And so Brad was so resentful about how he never really got, like, he was always like taking care of himself, and like never really got like dinner cooked for him a lot, because it was like my mom has to go drive an hour and a half to see me in the hospital. And so we definitely had a lot of beef when I was a kid. He hated me so fucking much. He was like, not even in the like way that siblings fight kind of way,
And not
but like
even-
we used to fucking fist fight until there was like blood, and we were like, 6, 7, 8 years
Right.
old. And then my mom would be like, you can't hit her. She's
Of course.
sick.
That's what I was thinking. It was like, it's not even enough for you to recognize that your sibling may be in pain. And yours was a literal pain.
Yeah.
Like, my sister and I fought for a long time. And there was our reconciliation now was kind of both that we were both going through, like all siblings. Like, oh, you were going through that? Same. I was like, why didn't we talk? We were just punching each other.
Yeah. Oh, we were every single thing, any issue that came up, because our mom always worked and we were a single kids of a single mom. Anything we did came down to who could hit the other one the fucking hardest. And my signature move was I would pretend after he was about to win, I would pretend that I was having trouble
Couldn't
breathing.
breathe. Oh,
And then
you rat.
I would be like, go, you have to go call mom because you hurt me so bad. And then when he would turn around and I would jump on his back and fucking get him. He was so embarrassed.
All right, I'm kind of Team Brad right now.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Vote now if you're Team Brad or Team Kier.
Text in your answers. That's wild.
Yeah.
And the sibling dynamic's so hard when it comes to all of that. Like, for both of us, like you. I think about, so obviously you and your mom had spent so much more time together. because
Yeah,
of
we're
that.
very close,
My
yeah.
older sister and my mom just told me this recently, that my older sister co-slept, shared a bed with her till she was 5. And that's no shame, whatever you want to
Yeah.
do, parenting, and no shame for my mom's situation. Like, that's horrible to wake up to a dead husband and like be scared with your baby. But 5, I was born. Which means I was in a room alone somewhere in the same house.
Sleeping.
No wonder I have a hard time. I have I hate sleeping near people or anything. It was like, because I've been alone.
Wait, that's actually very funny because, yeah, typically if you're going to co-sleep with anyone, it's going to be your infant.
Yeah. No, I was like outside of the room knitting or something.
Do you feel like there's a
I'm
level?
sure I was like, my crib was nearby. Like,
Yeah.
my mom was not neglectful, but her and my sister,
Just close.
very close.
Yeah.
And you see it in our home videos. You see it in everything. Oh,
Yeah. No, I do. You're right. I never think about that from Brad's perspective, but I am
So much time.
very close with my mom.
It's so much. It's just time. And like,
Yeah.
when I was little, I obviously resented part of it, but
Yeah.
now I look back, I obviously get it, but it's still hard when you're 4, you don't get it.
Yeah.
I would I'll have to clip this in, but I found a horrific home video where it's very cute. It's like, clearly like my sister just started going to school, so I have one-on-one time with my mom. And I'm like just bopping around, blowing bubbles in the driveway, and a car drives by, seemingly our neighbor. My mom waves. The guy's name happens to be Jim. And she goes, "Hey, Jim." And I lean into the camera. I say, "Is that my dad?"
No.
And I think about, for my mom, she had explained death because toddlers don't get anything.
Toddlers don't get fucking anything. It's
Idiots.
so embarrassing
So
for them.
annoying. But my mom literally had explained a traumatic death every day, probably.
That's actually
Because
very
every
true
book,
because
every TV show, mom, dad, sister, brother, everything. So.
and you don't have like object permanence. And so
No.
you're not remembering shit. Like I used to work in a retirement home and that feels similar where we
Yeah.
used to have to tell them every single day that their
Like,
spouse
you're
was
sick,
dead.
you're dying, no one cares about you anymore.
Yeah.
You're in a home.
Your husband's dead.
dead,
He's
died,
been
gone
dead.
forever. So yeah, every day probably my mom had to at some point. be
Had to
like,
relive it.
Yeah.
It probably helped her though in the long run, like to hear it and say it and like solidify
This is
it.
our life now.
Yeah.
But it's definitely shaped my way of thinking, my way of talking to people. Like I know a lot of people think I'm very blunt or to the point.
Yeah.
It's like yes, because that's what happened, and I don't need to cushion every statement. You don't need to cushion. Like I see you have to tell people you have CF. I see their face drop. Their brain is calculating. Oh God, what if that happened to me?
Oh, God.
Yeah, and you're like,
Everyone
I'm
does
fine.
sound like
like you're actually dying, and they're like worried about themselves while you're talking.
Yeah.
I see it on their faces.
Yeah, I mean
Same thing.
the job of being a sick person or a person with trauma, your entire job is to make everyone else feel comfortable around you.
Yeah.
That has been my job since the minute I was born. I don't get any ability to be sad on my own
Right.
because all I'm doing is, like you said, just like tap dancing and trying to get people to stop frowning
And
because
you got
they
it
don't.
from both sides. Parents too probably were like, I can't imagine having a sick kid.
Yeah.
And
Oh
now that
man.
you're an adult, it's like people again are like, oh, well, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, and they're like, "Good for you for living your dream, like, despite all odds." And people are like, "Because if it were me, I don't even know what I would do. I think I'd be distraught." And I'm like, "You think you wouldn't leave your house if you had a terminal illness?"
There are people that I see live life on such a lower frequency than you do. Though, like that, I can't imagine that. I equate it to people that complain when it's cloudy every day, but don't go outside when it's sunny.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. I had a. Hang on. I want to see if I can. If I definitely have it. I had a.
But there's people exactly like that who are looking, you saying, I can't imagine, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And then they stay in and watch TV all day. No shame if that's what you're doing, like, and you want to do. But
Right. I also stay in and watch TV all the time because I
Well, you're
have to when
dying.
I'm sick. But when I am healthy.
Do you hate when I say you're dying out loud?
No, I am dying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so my stepdad's a doctor and he loves to say everyone's dying. We're just doing it at different rates.
I hate when people say that to me.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up. You
Okay.
get what I'm saying. I'm on oxygen and you're not.
Okay, I am. You don't.
How did I never notice that before? No,
I hear the whole time.
I don't hate it as much as I just had that outburst, but I do
no,
think it's
I feel
annoying.
that. It is well, and I think my stepdad
Everyone's
says it
dying.
in the like, because if I'm being dramatic and being like, I'm
Uh-huh.
dying, like I'm sick, he'll be like, yeah, we're all dying.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But I think people like to say that as like a funny comeback when someone or I'll say like, I'm
Yeah.
dying. Like, well, technically, we're all dying. We're all actually dying from the minute that we're born. I'm doing an impression of
yeah,
a man because it always is.
No, it sounds like Neil.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Neil. No, Neil did say that to me last time we were hanging out, and that's the last time he's ever going to see me.
Because you're dying.
Yeah, because I'm dying. But somebody who is a student, because when I perform at colleges, they'll ask the students for feedback, like being like, did you like this performer? Do you want to see them again? And
Don't know if I'll get a chance.
right. We better get her back. And I get, some really funny ones from them, of them just being like, oxygen icon, like still hot despite all odds. But somebody wrote, this is an 18-year-old.
Okay.
So positive, even though she needs to be on oxygen. Personally, I'd be in ruins if I had that kind of situation. This is an 18-year-old.
I think it's because the oxygen
you're-
is so visible. I know so
What
many
they mean
people
is like I'd be embarrassed.
Right.
Because
Like, girl-
I can't imagine looking less fuckable.
I wish we had a photo of her we could put up and just tear apart right now.
Yeah,
But I can't imagine.
I can't imagine. I know. Well, I think also people think that being on oxygen affects my life.
Sex life.
Exactly. People want to know if I have sex still. And I'm like, do you think I don't have sex? I have moments to live. Do you
That's
think?
you riding.
Yeah, right. I'm like, it actually does come off. I still have to shower and stuff.
I think it's because the oxygen is so visible. I know so many people that are so sick and take so many pills and do things.
No, you're
like
right.
The whole invisible disability thing.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that have that, but people see your oxygen and think the world is over.
Because what they're saying is that I look less hot when I'm on it, which is fair-ish. I mean, like all the
It's
comics,
definitely-
the guy comics who reintroduce themselves to me when I'm on oxygen or off of it because they didn't remember that
I've
was
seen
me.
this happen. I've seen people straight up not recognize you, like Clark Kent, glasses on, glasses off.
Yeah.
Like a Hannah Montana situation. Like, and you have to be like, does this look more familiar?
Do you recognize me now? And especially when it's men, what it comes down to is like, oh, I wanted to fuck the girl I met before, and now I can't even fathom who this girl is with the tubes in her face.
Like, can you still have stuff in your mouth when
Yeah.
you got that?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like they're processing. They're
Yeah.
like, can you
No.
do both?
Me defying all odds is still having a lot of sex while I wear oxygen.
Honestly, God bless.
That's what people don't talk about.
Yeah, people don't talk about it enough.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I think it's the physical seeing that. I just watch people calculate so many things when they're talking to you
Yeah.
that I get annoyed. And it's probably why I'm like, yeah, she's dying. Let's move on. Like, let's have a fun conversation.
And also just ask. Like,
That's tricky.
am
That's tricky. You're open.
I'm so open. We need to have one where people just get to write in and ask every rude question, and you ask it personally.
Okay. I'll think of
Because
one
I know
now.
you will. You can ask me
Yeah.
any rude. I know. I was like I said off mic. I was trying to think of like.
But it's
the
like
most
flip side.
blunt
If you met
question about your
someone in a
dad.
wheelchair, would you go up and say what happened?
Yes. Okay. So
You might, because you got an oxygen excuse.
exactly. But okay. So I was at a show like 3 weeks ago with Neil, and we were talking to a kid.
Don't bring him into this.
I'm bringing Neil into this because we were talking to a kid who was blind, who was a comic.
Okay.
And I was in a conversation with like 3 or 4 other people and him, and nobody was asking the obvious questions. And I obviously can and will.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't see anyway. So it's not like, and I also wasn't
Mm-hmm.
on oxygen then, I don't think. But either way, I was
He
just,
couldn't see because I ran away.
yeah. Right. But I was just like, oh, when people go to shake your hand, do you know? Can you sense it?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, maybe I was being rude, and I was just like, how blind are you? Can
Yeah.
you drive? And he was like, oh, I'm not fully blind. And I was like, were you born that way? And he was like, I really appreciate you asking these very blunt questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm terminally ill. And he was like, yeah, I can kind of tell from your vibe. And that honestly meant so much to me.
Your vibe is giving not much time. Not much time left here. Actually, now that you say that, I have met someone that's blind, and I remember asking him, I worked in a restaurant, and he stopped by for lunch, and I asked him how he learned to map the neighborhood and get around.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about that.
Thank you.
I watched one episode of Sesame Street where Elmo did the. I'm serious.
expect you to say that.
Elmo is very serious. Where he shows like what different guide dogs can do and what different service dogs can do in houses.
Yeah.
People always show like the blind, like seeing eye dogs.
Yeah.
But I watched this one dog who was helping a kid in a wheelchair and like showed how he opened and closes doors and drawers for him.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff.
Or the dogs for diabetes who can smell
So you're
your
right.
blood pressure.
I think this is eliminate all other things. These are just personality traits that we're comfortable and confident to ask someone what the fuck is up with their body.
And I also, okay, and
There are ways to do it.
and can I say something off mic? Well, I'm just gonna say it on mic, but we're gonna cut it.
You're like, I say something off mic, licked it.
But we're gonna cut it because it probably is like an unpopular opinion or maybe shitty thing to
You
say.
hate blind people?
Yeah, I hate. No, okay, but you know how being generically attractive women and women especially, we
Where's
get
the
a
camera?
certain privilege of just the way that we interact with people. Like, I guess sickness or like dad death aside, we just maybe act a little more blunt than maybe like an unattractive older guy would because
Right.
we don't have as much of a fear of people
Do you agree with that? Neil?
telling us to fuck off. Do you? Did you just refer to Neil as the unattractive older guy? Holy shit! I didn't know we were doing the roasts yet. I would have brought one for
No,
Neil.
I know what you're saying. No, Neil is conventionally fine.
Neil, yesterday she did say you were hot when we were talking. We both did.
Like comparatively to whoever else we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to help.
Oh yeah. No, I said
Yeah,
Neil's fine.
yeah. You said he's 6'4".
How tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". Whoa, I was wrong. Fill a door frame. That's my favorite height. That's how I measure men. Is what they look like walking out of my room.
Oh, nice. Ooh.
Anyway, you were saying
Sorry,
that
no, we won't bring you into this
conventionally
But as a girl, I do feel like there's a level
woman.
of a woman. Sorry, I don't feel like there's a as a fucking woman. I don't feel that there's as much of a level of shyness when it comes to if I had to go up to like a guy my age and ask for something, I wouldn't feel as afraid that someone would say no or be offended.
Yeah.
And talking to a blind guy
In life, we
made me
mostly
realize-
get yeses. So
Yes.
there's less fear of personal conversation.
big
for sure.
time. We get yeses more than we get nos. And then I was talking to someone who was blind, and I was like, he doesn't know I'm hot.
You
And I know
grabbed
that
his
that's
hands
a
and
really
made him
shitty
touch your
thing
face.
to say, but there's so much pretty privilege that the world has, which is fucked up. And it's
You
not
were worried
okay.
he was going to be mean to you because he couldn't tell.
I just
Did you make him feel your face?
no. I just made everyone else in the bar tell him I was
Describe.
hot. Yeah,
Paint a word picture for my guy.
I was like, hey, can you guys just admit that I'm hot? And
I would
everyone
love
clapped,
if he
so-
grabbed your face and just said, "Not my type." So you were thinking that like,
kill myself.
oh, that like negates your thought process on this.
No, it just made me think about my own behavior and the way that I am maybe more blunt to people. One, because I'm sick, and two, because I am.
I will say sick is higher on the list from my perspective. In
I
how
agree,
you-
but I didn't look sick at the time. I didn't have oxygen
right?
on.
Just in terms of like, I'm not like I'm not dissing how I look, but I don't get away with nearly as much as I've seen you get away with in a positive way. That's why we're friends.
What have you seen me get away with?
Murder.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think it's just a presentation thing,
Yeah.
but it's also a personality thing. Like
Yeah.
I come off in a certain way. That
You definitely come off meaner.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In a good, yeah, in a way, in a way that I love.
Yeah, I'm not like mad about it, but it is funny because people always be like, "You're a hot girl." Like guys always be like, "I'm sure this." I was like, guys don't talk to me in person. Fear.
Yeah, because they're intimidated by you.
And I don't have. And this goes back to our whole point of this is I don't like have time for bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I don't like the small talky. I don't like when people are passive. Like I don't like when people come up to me and I know they want something or try and ask me something and they like go in circles. I feel like you. I feel like I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's get to the point. Like if you want to ask me something, say it with your chest and let's move on.
But I so want that quality because I have, for someone who has very little time, I am so willing to let people waste my fucking time just for the sake of making people feel comfortable
Yeah.
and not coming off like a bitch. I have such a crippling
True.
fear.
It's a tough line to because to your point is like as soon as I cut someone off, I'm like, all right, let's move on. They see that as mean, even though I'm like, no, I want to engage with you, but I want to get to the point.
And I don't see it as mean because it's something I want. Like, I look at people who can advocate for themselves, or, you know, I'm sure it's not easy for you. Like, it's
Yeah.
automatically, like, I know for a fact, as your best friend, you still think about it. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
also, it is something that, like, would keep me up at night. And I
Yeah.
work really hard on that. But I think a lot and talk a lot when I'm in therapy about people like you and my best friend Savannah, who are just very okay with just saying what you're thinking, even
Yeah.
if it's not going to make people feel necessarily comfortable and cared for. And I think that that's such a cool quality.
I think I care about how people feel, but I don't let that trump how I'm feeling in a situation.
That is so cool. Truly, like in a very productive way, in a way that I think that you make a lot more time for yourself. And I'm still, even though I'm dying, I still let so many people.
Like what? Can you
waste
give an example?
my time.
A vague example?
Yeah, like I'm thinking about I remember like the last guy that I dated, like seriously, and him just being so like consistently mean to me all the time.
I mean, let me back up. I let guys treat me like absolute shit.
For sure. But
My day to day, I don't have time for bullshit. But as soon as I'm dating someone, I'm like,
yeah. Right. And I think also maybe there's a level of, I hate this term about women, especially women comics, but like a level of daddy issues that we both have where it's like,
don't have one. Didn't have one.
that's true. That's fair.
It's not a like for me. It's not like a vying for their attention thing.
Mhm.
It's like I care so little about certain stuff.
yeah.
like, that I'm. This sentence is going down a bad hole. You keep going.
No, I think I think maybe the luxury, at least, of having you in my life is that you get to fill the role that many of my daddy issues like crave.
Yeah.
Like in a platonic way.
I smack you around.
Like you're just mean to me. Yeah, yeah.
I leave you at the bus stop.
You beat the shit out of me. You divorced my mom.
I cheated on your mom.
Yeah, you cheated on my mom. Yeah,
Would never.
You never showed up for your custody weekend.
Truly, yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
No, but I do feel like I just am. For somebody who has such little time, I am just the queen of just wasting my own time. And granted, I do it also maybe in a more fun and lighthearted way. I'm so down to waste my own time all day, every day. If you offered to do something, if you were like, do you want to go birdwatch?
Well, I also tend to like, I only know strong women in my life. Like to your question about dads, like growing up too, sitcom dads, whatever. The only dads I knew were like passive purse holder husbands, like in the back seat, like just doing whatever. And I ended up dating a string of just stand in the back, could be there or not. It.
And I can see that very much of that kind of guy being attracted to you because you are always you're driving.
Yeah.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. Recently, I had a guy friend say, and I've known him a long time, and I said something to him to which he very politely came around, put his arm around me and said, Jamie, if I said that to you, I would never hear the end of it. And I was like, taste of my own medicine.
Like you said something to him and he said if the roles were reversed.
Yeah. And he was 1,000% right. And I really went home and thought about that. And I was like, wow, yeah, I do just be saying stuff that I wouldn't like to hear myself.
Okay, wait, can I ask? Sorry, I love games. What's the meanest thing you can remember someone saying to you?
Meanest thing someone said to me?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be that deep, but like.
I don't remember.
Oh,
probably something my sister said.
Yeah. Like the thing that you do remember that someone said to you.
Wow, that's crazy.
Good for you. That you.
I don't remember.
Wow.
I mean, who's meaner to me than myself?
Okay.
Like, I can tell you something I said to myself in the mirror this morning.
Yeah. Has any of like the roasts you've done ever been?
No, they all just call me fat, which like they don't have anything for.
Good.
They're like fat, fatherless slut, which is my screen name. So
good one.
Yeah. No, I almost wish I had one, but I haven't held on to anything like that.
Yeah.
Because it's all been, it's like stuff, like, I always get offended with the roast because I'm like, oh, you guys don't know me at all.
Yeah, right.
You didn't try.
Yeah.
That's more what I've been offended by.
I feel like, you have that one story in your stand-up about the person, your friend's boyfriend saying, like, that you are the least approachable woman.
He called me intimidating. And thought I couldn't hear him. We were like 2 steps away from each other. And I looked at him and I said, good thing, I don't say this on stage, but what I really said in person was, I said, hey, good thing you're not trying to date me then.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my friend and said, control him. And then we kept walking. I was like, that's
such a power move in itself. Control him.
Yeah. I was like, this is bizarre. It was the first time I met the guy. First time, that's all true. First time he said that. And it was such a weird... Yeah, intimidating, but I'm not even offended by that because he was a weenie of a man, so of course he was intimidated by me.
Yeah, that's a good quality too.
Wait, do you remember something mean someone said to you?
Oh my god, a billion things. I mean, I work
like
what? I'm an actor also, so like casting directors are so mean. But
yeah, I guess like being called fat, it doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah, I would so much rather comments on my appearance than my like I remember
you say that. I mean, I get comments from like the scum of the earth saying stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I literally make my money off my body and my personality, right. So I feel someone's paying for it.
Yeah. I remember breaking up with my high school boyfriend, and I remember on his way out of my car,
oh boy,
I remember him saying, "You're so pretty. And I think God made you so pretty to make up for everything else that's wrong with you."
What the hell?
And I was like, I think
so. You dated a gay?
That's the title of my first comedy special.
Gay?
He is gay. Yes,
of course.
He is gay now.
Of
well,
course,
he was
that's
gay
the
then.
Sassiest, most dramatic thing I've ever heard.
It was so sassy. Yeah, but it was so theatrical. It was like
he was
so
saying
pretty.
that because he just wanted to fuck your guy friends.
Oh, he absolutely did. Yeah.
Anybody that's
and we also met doing a production of Rent the musical, so
I
this shouldn't
think
shock anyone.
everything I just said was super homophobic, but anything someone says, like, I think that's why I don't remember most stuff is because it's just
Yeah.
a reflection on them.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Why did
when I worked
like,
at a retirement home, they were all just mean for the sake of being mean.
yeah, if someone called me fat, like, they're trying to make me feel bad because they feel bad about something.
Yeah.
Like, if someone calls me fatherless, like, yeah, why is that an insult?
Yeah, no, you're right. Maybe it's like some things just stick with me in the way of sometimes someone says something to me that is really mean, but is so fucking badass that I wish I could be the person who says something like that to someone. Like you respect it.
Yeah.
You know?
I
They give like the goosebumps walk away line where like they say something cool, gives you goosebumps, and then they like leave the room and they're like, everyone's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, one time someone said something pretty messed up to me. Like, it was at a time where I was like pretty much not eating, not good time in life.
Yeah.
And they were like, good thing you finally lost some weight. Too bad it's for a guy that doesn't love you.
Jamie, how is this not the first thing you said when I asked you the meanest
Because
thing?
I don't want to, I mean, I'm going to
general.
cut this. I try so hard, not even try. I don't think about looks like as much as our parent generation does.
It's crippling how much they do.
Yeah, and like I'm sure for you, like with like people saying looking and feeling healthy, like
Yeah.
you're never healthy.
Right.
Full stop.
Right. People
So
be like,
people
you
just
look good.
equate weight to health.
Which is insane because
So bad.
the sickest I am, I have in my closet, and this is a big thing with cystic fibrosis in
Yeah.
general, is like most people with cystic fibrosis are really underweight.
Yeah.
It's a really big issue. We have to see, along with going to see my doctor, when I go see my lung doctor, there's a dietitian who has to come in every time because it's a big issue. I'm
You're on
lucky,
like 1,000 meds. Like it
Yeah.
all makes sense. Like you can't breathe. Why would you want to eat? Like,
right. And because it also affects like basically like a lot of people with cystic fibrosis can't keep fat in their body. Like they digest all of it.
Quit bragging.
Yeah. Well, I see the thing is like I'm a normal weight.
Yeah.
But when I get sick, it's really rough. And I'll get sick and I have like in my closet multiple different sets of clothes that are different sizes because when I'm healthy, I'm one weight, but when I get sick and when I'm sick, all of a sudden is when people come out of the woodwork and are like, you look amazing. You look so healthy. And I'm like,
yeah.
thanks. My hair's falling out. I am
Yeah.
so fucking weak. I cannot even lift my head off.
Oh,
the
I
pillow.
vividly remember comments I've gotten like, and I'm not terminally ill.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
People only like praise you when you're actually at your like mentally probably worse.
Oh, that's yeah, painfully true. And like working in as an actor with casting directors, like, you know,
They're like, can you get sick again?
yeah. They're like, we kind of thought you'd be on the oxygen.
Can we
today."
do the whole hospital thing for a few weeks?
Yeah,
like
right.
that's your diet.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God. And when I worked at a retirement home, because they're all much older generation who prioritize the way you look
Skinny.
so much.
It's like I feel like it's less the way you look, but just skinny.
Well, they were really mean about my nose ring. Like they would just unprompted, I'd be like, good morning. They'd be like, good morning. No one wants to kiss a girl with a nose ring. And I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. And like they were
Like no one wants to kiss an old ass bitch.
Yeah,
in
thank
a
you.
Home Alone.
when I got my hair ombre.
Yeah. Sorry,
ever
I'm just
tell you
laughing
this?
at how rude I just.
No, that was rude, but it's okay. Did I ever tell you this? That I got my hair ombre, and which ombre was like when you just dye the ends
2016.
of your hair. Yeah,
2016.
yeah, 2015 maybe. You would just dye the ends of your hair, and I went in, and so like the bottom was blonde, and I was like feeling like a fucking dime because like at the time that was the look.
Yeah.
And the only one who was ever nice to me was this woman, Rosie. And she pulled me into another room
Oh no.
and she said, I need to talk to you. And then she sat me down and said, objectively the coolest thing anyone's ever said, but it was so mean. But she said, I know that you dyed the ends of your hair to be different,
Oh
but
god.
different isn't always pretty. And I think about her
Different
all the
isn't
time.
always pretty.
I think about her all the time. And God, I want to be at a point in my life where I can talk to people like that. I want it bad, Jamie. I want to be able to fuck. And I'm never going to be in a retirement home, so I'm never going to have that excuse.
But who like?
She was so
What does she look like?
Rosie?
Yeah.
I mean, she's far and away dead now, but she did not
she
look
looks
great.
pretty bad now.
She
but
did
so
not look
skinny.
great. No, yeah, she was definitely a skinny queen for sure.
It is wild. So I think, like, you asked me if I can think of anything someone said mean to me. I think you know this, that life is pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hold on to, I think I am blessed in a way that I just genuinely forget most conversations I had with people I don't care about. So, like, anything mean that's ever been said to me, I'm sure in the moment held on to, but
Yeah.
I can't think of, I mean, in second grade, this girl looked at me and said, "You're wearing that for a picture today." And I still think about that. Because I was just wearing a green t-shirt and I had a rainbow choker on.
That's
thought
a
it was
kill shot at that age.
Yeah. But you know what's wild is, like, she came up to me, like, years later on the boardwalk, like, gave me a big hug. It was super nice.
Yeah, I guess it also makes you wonder what's something that you've maybe said to someone
Oh, I said something horrible.
that is the thing that stuck with them forever.
Actually, I will say, like, I won't say what I said, but I said something so mean to my sister in a situation that was, like, public and, like, shamed her.
Yeah.
That I, like, regret to this day.
See, not that I want to have the regret part. I know there's a middle ground between.
Well, you know
What you're
what sucks
saying
is
and
I
me,
felt
but-
so bad about it and still do. But she has done and said so many far worse
Yeah.
things that I, like, can't believe I still think about that. It's because that's not who I am. Like, making someone feel bad because I feel bad
Yeah.
isn't good. And I think that's also, like, comes back to, like, bring everything together, like, with how blunt I can be because I'm so aware of death. I still have to be cautious that some people aren't. Like, my college boyfriend hadn't had, I think I just told you this. I just met someone recently who told me they're due because they haven't had a significant death in their life. I'm trying to
Yeah.
make a bit about
Yes,
it.
but I was like,
insignificant death.
I was like, watch like her mom's dead. But
Yeah,
she just
yeah.
didn't
She
like her.
calls it an insignificant
Yeah.
death. So I was, like, having this conversation with someone, and I was just talking to someone about it and saying how, like, my college boyfriend, he, like, his grandma was sick for, like, a while, like, years. And then when she passed, he was distraught as if it had been, God forbid, his mother, like, had just dropped dead suddenly. Like, he got a text, but I remember we were, like, out, and I didn't trust him, so I thought he was cheating. So I looked at the phone anyway. And one text was from a girl he shouldn't have been texting, and the other text was his sister letting him know that the grandma died. So he was like, "Glad you saw the one text and not the other." I was like, "Yeah, me too." And then he like sobbed like I'd never seen him get upset before.
Yeah.
And
He just had a really easy life prior.
I don't want to say easy, all things are relative.
Yeah.
But no death in the family, and they're
Okay.
very close. And, like, but I just was the wrong person to be in the car with because I was like,
Yeah. They're there.
yeah, I just was like, did we not see this coming?
Mm-hmm.
Are we
Yeah.
feeling blindsided? So, like, that's something I know I have to reckon with. Like, just, I can be empathetic, but sometimes I really do have to take a step back and be like, oh, you've never seen a dead body? Like, I was.
I'm like, yes, I'm the same way. I am not I want to be so bad, but to be the person who comforts people.
But it's my whole family. Like, I had a friend overdose in college, and I said I was about to go to a Temple football game on, like, with my family, and I looked at my phone, got his text, and I was like, oh, so and so died. And my stepdad was like, yeah, people die. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's truly how I feel. And I have to remind myself, like you said, everything's relative.
Yeah.
And it's not
And my
my
stepdad's
place.
a doctor, so he sees
Yeah.
people die all the time. He's in
Yeah.
the hospital all the time. My mom's in mental health, so she's a therapist, and my mom had what happened to her. So I recognize that we are very blasé about death in our family.
Yeah, and not everyone is.
No.
But sometimes it's like that just means I have to be the one to walk away. I'm not the good helper in this situation.
I think sometimes people think I could be pretty doom and gloom too. I was a nanny for a long time, and
Yeah.
like being a nanny, you have to have the foresight of a kid getting hurt, kid anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always like head on a swivel. And I think sometimes people think like, oh, that's so ridiculous, this, that, and I'm like, yeah, but once you've seen some stuff or know some stuff, or like any form of tragedy, you're way more prepared.
Yeah.
And like situations of like crisis or anything. Like,
Agreed.
I think I'm good to jump in because I just am not emotional about it. I'm like, yeah, stuff happens.
Same. Like if I were not a sick person and I can't be around sick people, obviously, but if I could work in a hospital, I would so be like a trauma surgeon or something because I really pride myself on the fact that I don't get ruffled easily by scary situations. But I have in it so many times, and honestly, it's really, I do not recommend anybody go to art school ever, especially for a
PSA.
BFA in acting, because so many assignments are just about you personally, because they want you to learn the way that people take you. Like that's a big part of like knowing what you're giving off.
Yeah.
But it was just like from your peers and your other teachers. And we'd have days where we'd all go around the room and say a word that we think of when we think of this person. It was very
Jeez.
rough to do to like 19, 20-year-olds. But the one that I've gotten a lot that I've been trying to embrace is macabre or like, I mean, I get like spooky a lot, but I get that because
word
I'm into
association.
horror.
Someone's like Kirsten, skeleton.
Yeah,
Dead.
dead.
Graveyard.
Kirsten haunting me. Yeah, and like which I do kind of agree with. I guess like
Yeah.
I am kind of dark and gloomy. Like that's still always the number one person I get compared to by people is Aubrey Plaza. That's the number one person everybody says that they think I look like, that they think I act like, and I'm like, I think I'm pretty bubbly. I don't know. I wouldn't say bubbly, but I guess the words that come out of my mouth maybe don't match my tone.
I wonder. Yeah, because of course I'm already just thinking about myself. I'm like, I wonder. I've never gotten a celebrity association because I haven't been in.
I have one
like
in
that.
the roast that I put in.
Oh,
for
I
you.
can't wait to hear it. I want to say one thing and then I want to hear the roast.
It's not that good. It was just a one-line thing about a
That's
celebrity
fine.
I think you look like.
It'll keep us moving. But I had someone recently tell me that my TikToks don't do well because they said the content you have is good, but how you present it isn't. And I said, excuse me? And they said, you have to be more likable. And I was like, oh.
Oh, why didn't I think of that?
Super simple note. Likable to who?
Got it. Mhm.
What are you talking about?
Just to, the 10 million people on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. And then I made a TikTok about this because I was like, that's not true because my For You page is the most unlikable humans on the planet. All right, roast me.
No,
baby.
you're very correct.
Yeah, my TikTok, I flipped through. I'm like, anyone popular on TikTok is not someone I want to talk to in person.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, it's kind of like that's the goal is to be unlikable enough that people want to click and see more about you.
Yeah. So I should be blowing up.
No, you should be. There's no reason. Well, once you post that new video that we're working.
Roast me, baby.
Okay, yeah, well, you have to roast me too.
I think I have been this whole time.
Yeah, but I thought you wanted to do like roast.
I do. I want to hear yours.
I'm trying
I
to
have
like
nothing written,
work
but
on
I'll-
my roasting.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
I'm getting away from roasting because I think people just hear me and think I'm always roasting.
maybe. Okay. All right, I was so high when I wrote these.
Perfect.
Okay. So,
I'm just going to come back with comebacks. We'll see if I have anything in the tank anymore.
yeah, these were my very high thoughts about you just off the top of my head. Neither of them are very funny. They're just more true.
I just start crying.
Okay, yeah. So, Jamie seems like her love language is avoiding eye contact.
Mm.
And Jamie looks like someone tried to draw America Ferrera from memory. That's what you mean.
No, that's funny.
Did Neil laugh? Just like Neil was too mean.
I don't think that's mean at all. I think
Okay.
it's funny.
I think you look like her. It's
I
a
think
compliment because she's so hot.
I think it's funny because I was just with someone who referenced Ugly Betty and was like, "Can you imagine getting the casting call?" And
I always
her
think
name is
that.
ugly. I was like, "Yeah, but they made her look ugly."
Yeah, but I mean like America Ferrera currently.
The
Like
eye
Barbie
contact
movie.
is funny. Can I like punch up your?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think I'm more of a lack of physical touch person. Like
I
my
agree.
eye contact's too dead on.
Okay. So then what is a
Because
funny way
I'm
to
not.
take?
What did you say it again?
Because I'm trying
I
to
look
make
like
it
my
a
love language.
not real love language. You look like your love language is blank.
Oh, got it.
And it's obviously not a
I
real
mean,
one.
we could list a bunch. My love language is actually avoiding intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah. What's like a more specific example of that though? I feel like it's
Relationships. Avoiding.
like your love language is leaving someone at the altar.
My love language is dating married men.
That's good. That is what you look like. I'm gonna write that.
I love that you were writing it down.
I'm trying to work on them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to do a joke about body of a side chick. Like how women have different body types, and that's just mine.
Jamie looks like her love language is someone else's husband. Is that good? Okay. All right.
Sorry.